Hey guys, it's Caban with True Champion Gaming, and today we're going to be doing a deep dive on a deck that's pretty similar to one that we've shown on the channel before. We had a video posted a while ago about a DOA format, wind, aggro, tribal, Lorraine kind of deck that, just kind of rushed face, honestly. It felt like it was a better aggro deck than a lot of fire aggro decks even. And I took that to like 5 or 6 different semi-big events, including 2 regionals. One in America and one in Oceania actually, and got top 8 with both of them, top 4 and second place actually specifically. So had some really good finishes with it. I know a lot of people had picked up a really similar or even exact 60 copy version of my list, and they did some pretty decent finishes as well and found a lot of success with it. So it is a tried and true deck, and we basically just updated it with some FTC cards and made a few adjustments just for like the meta essentially, because there is a new DOA card that we're putting in the deck because of just how like FTC is looking. Because we've had a lot of comments and DMs lately about people asking us to explain cards a little bit more, since we are still in a new game. This game is still in its first year of release essentially. So we are going to do quite a longer video than normal because I'm going to really try to explain like everything I can think of. So if you are a bit more of an experienced player, maybe you want to watch on 1.5 speed or something. But if you are a new player, this is going to be a good video for you to watch to really understand how to play this deck. I also think this is a solid deck for a beginner to play. It's fairly straightforward, but it can teach you a lot of things about the game. And wind is a little bit of a tricky color, and it can really just teach you how to handle a lot of situations that pop up. So let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. So we are playing Spirit of Wind. We're just playing the normal basic Spirit from DOA. There's another version out that you can glimpse 6 and stuff like that, but you draw 1 less card. Card value is really important in this specific deck. There's a lot of times that you'll just stay on Wind Spirit and go Bauble and GCR and stuff and just literally focus on drawing cards, so we want to just go on that. Then we're going to be playing Lorraine level 1. So her on enter effect, when you bring this out, will materialize a card or weapon card with memory cost of 0 from your material deck. You do have 3 options, so you have Sword of Seeking, Ornamental Greatsword, and Sword of Adversity. I put Sword of Seeking next to her in the material deck because this is the sword that you're going to want to bring out most of the time. Not so much because of the class bonus, but more so because it's one of the only 0-cost swords with a 1-2 stat line. So you can bring her out, swing something right away, and you're going to basically cheat an extra 1 damage onto your board that turn, which you can use to help control the board, and then you'll still have a sword left over for your next turn. Another reason why it's really good to have the 2 durability is because you can, again, swing with it immediately, and you can have a sword on your field. When it goes into your opponent's turn, if you have any Deflecting Edges in your hand, you can play them out for free. So you can actually, depending on how your hand looks, be really aggressive to start, not keeping a lot of cards in your hand, but still have some defensive plays. So usually you're going to want to go with the Sword of Seeking. Ornamental Greatsword is another really good option if you just need some fast damage. So it's a 1/1, but its class bonus is that it'll give an ally +1 attack until end of turn. So you can basically get 2 damage in 1 turn instead of 2 damage over 2 turns like Sword of Seeking will. And then we also have the Sword of Adversity. This is, again, situational, so this is going to get +1 if you have no allies. So think of these 2 cards as almost the same thing, because they're essentially both 2 damage, 1 attack, just in different situations. So a lot of times I'll bring this out if I'm in a very like board versus board kind of game state. So if you're playing the mirror match or something, the mirror, or if you're just against any sort of ally deck, it's all about board control. Whoever can control the board the most and keep the most of their units on the board while taking off your opponent's units. So if they've spent a turn to clear off a couple of your allies and you have none left, you can just materialize this. You don't have to do it off of Lorraine's effect. You can just do it for free on a normal materialization phase. And then now you have 2 damage to start with on your turn, which is huge in order to remove some allies. Just remember that it will get +1 if you control no allies, but the second that you have an ally, this goes back down to just 1 attack. So don't materialize this and then play an ally thinking that you can swing for 2. You'll have to just do this swing first in order to get that effect. But yeah, I mean, you can get some really, really big damage because you swing this with no allies, and then you play allies afterwards to increase that damage. So those are the 3 0-cost swords. There are some other options, but these are the ones that I feel like are the best. Then you won't go into this too often, but it is an option that's there. We have level 2 Lorraine Blademaster. So one of the new changes that I've actually cut all 4 Banner Knights from the DOA era, and the reason being is that we have other 2-drop 1/3s that I think just can fit the deck better, and you just don't go into level 2 that much, honestly. Sweep is good, but not really. Basically, we don't run Sweep. Sweep is a cleave effect that can try to clear the whole board, but I just don't like it in the deck. It could be a side deck card, and that's usually one of the biggest reasons to go into level 2. And again, we're just not running the Banner Knights and stuff, so really you're just going to be primarily using her as a single target attack. So on enter, she gets +2 attack and then has an on-kill draw card. You also do get 4 more health. You go from 20 to 24, so that is relevant too sometimes. So she's really good if you are, again, in that board control kind of mirror, and especially if you're playing wind versus wind. This is your real only way to clear off a Dream Fairy on their board that has stealth. So that is another reason, like I said, we don't use the True Sight too often from this sword. It's mainly ran because it's 1/2, but this will give you True Sight, which lets you hit units with stealth. So if they bring out a Dream Fairy, this is pretty much your only way to kill it, with the Sword of Seeking and then getting the additional 2 attack here and swinging 3 into it. So if you are playing against wind, you don't want to break this right away. Keep it around because you might have to use it. So, but again, you're not going to go into level 2 all the time. You're mainly going to want to go into level 1 and then just use a bunch of draw cards. So speaking of those, we have Grand Crusader's Ring. Your version might look a little bit different. There's an alternate art that's like more yellow kind of, and it has a really small ring in the middle. That's the Divine Relic that I think you should be playing right now, especially in a deck like this. It just literally gives you a card. So often I will be Spirit of Wind, and my first materialization will be Grand Crusader's Ring before anything else. Speaking of draw, we have Fire and Wind Bauble. So there are Fire, Wind, and Water Baubles, but we only run Fire and Wind in the main board, and we do run the Water in the sideboard. And the reason is, and this is going to get a little complicated, is because I basically treat Ventus as our Water Bauble. So my logic behind this is that if you are playing Water, you're probably going to be playing a little bit of a longer game because Water is a pretty big control color. Wind kind of is too in a sort of way, but this, if you materialize when you would normally bring out a Water Bauble, you won't get that immediate banish and draw, but because it is going to be a longer game, you're going to get these enlightenment counters and refinement counters from here, and you can just slowly tap and put them onto your champion, and then you can remove 3 of the enlightenment counters to draw at any time. So once you've cast 3 wind element mage spells, this basically turns into a card draw that can continue to draw you cards the longer the game goes on for. So that's kind of the logic there. You, in a way, have a card draw against each color. But again, you know, Spirit, GCR, Fire Bauble after that or something, and you just got a massive hand. We run a Drawn Blade. This is to keep up with more swords. Often you will run out of swords to attack with in this deck. And this is just a really good way that if you have a floating memory, you can basically just, again, treat it as another draw. It's almost another GCR in a way. Drawing is basically what you want to be doing out of your materializations most of the time. And then we have Tariff Ring specifically for those ally aggro matchups. If you're in board versus board, this is going to be fantastic for you to just materialize, do a couple swings in your opponent's board, and then they go to their turn. You pop this in the recollection phase, and all their attacks are going to cost 2 more, which means that they're probably not going to be able to clear your board as much as they would like to. This is also a really good way to stop a cleave turn if you are facing against level 2 Lorraine. If you fear that they might try to level up and go with a cleave attack, depending on how many cards they have in your hand, if you can make them unable to cleave by them being forced to pay 2, this can really swing a game in your favor. So that's just a little bit something to try to keep track of, but that can be a little bit more of a complicated play, so don't worry about it too much if you are just beginning with the game. So let's go ahead and go into the main board. We have 4 Woodland Squirrels. This is just a 0-cost 1/1 ally. Now, a big mistake that more newer players to the game will do is that they'll just play this and swing and everything, and you know, you get 1 damage in it. Sounds like it's really nice. It sounds like it's free. But the important thing to remember with this card is it's not free. your hand is your mana and your tempo in this game. So you really only want to be playing this if it's either swinging for game, which even though they're cute and cuddly, they actually have won me many games just by themselves, or if you're using it with another card in the deck, Aesan Protector. So this is the cheapest ally in the game right now because it literally costs 0. So you can play this, swing in for 1, and then you can play an Aesan Protector for 4, which has some really good stats. 3 and 4 is the highest, well, not the highest, but really high stats for this game. And so you can just like turn 1 or turn 2 or something like that, get in some damage and cheat out a really big body on the board. So that's basically what the squirrels are in here for. Then we have 3 Raccoon. Now this is a card that I think should be buffed to 4, or not buffed, but increased to 4. This is an on enter, banish up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. And this kind of replaces Banner Knight. So it's not as aggressive as an option, but slowing down your opponent by banishing their floating memory is huge. And even though it doesn't have as big of a body, you're basically going to want to just combine this with cards like Reclaim and Aesan Protector to put it right back into your hand to either keep your hand size up or even use the effect again. This is how I tried to beat the Erupting deck that beat me in the finals of the Yeti Champion of Champions, which, you know, I played this like 6 times in one game just because you have so many bounce effects, and they still were able to Erupting at a high enough level to kill me. So really crazy deck there. Definitely you should check that out, practice it, either playing it or playing against it, because it can do some crazy things. But yeah, I think this should go to 4 because of decks like that exist, and again, just slowing down your opponent with floating memory is pretty big. And you know, like playing this for cheap, chipping a damage, and then putting it back into your hand with Aesan Protector feels pretty good as well. Your other 2-drop into here is Swift Recruits. So these are a green staple. It's a 2-drop 1/2 intercept floating memory. So that means that when it's in your graveyard, you can banish this as a floating memory card to bring out one of your cards that cost 1 from the material deck, like Lorraine level 1 or Drawn Blade or something. And then if you have multiple, you can bring out, you know, your level 2 and stuff like that. Intercept, allowing you to stop any attacks or intercept any attacks that are headed towards your champion. So if you just play this on turn 1 when your opponent hasn't done anything, and then they try to play something like a Flame Rune Swordsman and swing 2 at your face, you can stop some of that damage that is keeping you alive longer, and then just use it anyways as a card to go into your level 1. So really fantastic card there. You are primarily using this as just another body. Most of the time you won't really keep it up as an interceptor. You are an aggressive deck, so oftentimes I'll play this and just swing into them. But depending on the matchup, you might want to keep it up as a defensive option. And they're going to be torn between either killing this and stopping your board from getting super huge, or keeping it alive and taking more damage from it, letting you play Aesons for cheaper and stuff. So it's a very hard card for your opponent to make a decision on what to do with. Then we have 4 Gildas. So this is a very hard card to play sometimes. It's a 3-drop 1/3 that is unique, so you can only have one of them on the board. If you try to play another one, you'll have to choose one of them to put in the drop or in the graveyard. And it has a keyword called Balance, where it's going to get 3 additional attack if the amount of cards in your hand and memory are equal. So the magic number with Gildas is usually 7. If you have 7 cards in hand and you put 3 in your memory and then you play Gildas, you'll now have 3 in memory and 3 in your hand because Gildas was the 7th card in your hand. And then if you swing with it, you deal 4, and then you go into your next turn. As long as you're not materializing something that's drawing you a card, or even if you do get a ring, you just don't pop it right away, you'll draw to 7, and then you can play another 3-drop, like we're going to talk about some other options in a second. And you can really easily chain Gildas and keep doing all these balance shenanigans. You can do it on other numbers outside of just 7. However, you can get balance will work, but 7 is just generally the easiest. And it's just a really, really good offensive option. We have 4 Lurking Assailant. So this is a card that I've really started to have grow on me in FTC. And it actually might be our first new card outside of, yeah, well, we did Raccoons as well. But this is a really fantastic turn 1 play, going first before your opponent has done anything. Because if you just play Lurking Assailant, it will maintain stealth as long as it's awake. So you know that your opponent's probably not going to kill it, and you're going to have some extra aggro going into your next turn as well. You can use the effect level 1, Lurking Assailant may retaliate against attackers while not defending. This means that if I have it up and my opponent attacks another ally or it attacks my champion or something, Not defending means it's not the attack target, but so normally you can't retaliate, but you could, as long as you're level 1, turn it sideways and retaliate and deal back some damage. This can be really good at preventing your opponents like hasty messengers and stuff, or at the very least killing them on their turn. But like I said, we're an aggro deck. You're usually going to be playing this and swinging in. The main reason it's in the deck is because it's a really good turn 1 play, like I said, with it having stealth, and it can help balance Gildas because it's a 3 cost. Speaking of 3 costs, we have Windrider Vanguard. So this is another 3 cost. This has 2/3. It's a class bonus of Vigor. So if you are level 1 or level 2, you'll be able to restand at the end of your turn. This is really good for if your opponent does like a cleave or something. You'll basically be able to hit them on your turn and then restand. And if they do cleave or they attack this specifically, you hit them again. So good aggro option, good defensive option. It means that they aren't going to be able to clear this as easy as some of your other allies, because if they swing an ally with 2 health, you'll be able to kill it back. So just a really, really solid card in the deck. And again, it helps balance Gildas. And we have 4 Dream Fairies. So we run a lot more 3-drop allies in this version of the deck than we did in DOA. So Gildas feels better than ever. And this is the card that I was talking about, where this is a DOA card. It did not come out in the newest set, Fractured Crown, but it gets better in this set's meta, I feel like. The reason being is that people are a little bit more focused on boss monsters now, being Majestic Spirit's Crest. What is the name of that? Majestic Spirit? The Majestic Spirit. That's a super popular boss monster right now. We'll put that up on the screen so you can just see, even if you don't know what that card does, those stats and all those words on it look intimidating enough. We also have Crawl and just a lot of allies that are a lot more relevant. So this is a really good play because you can play this and disrupt your opponent's tempo, still swing in for 1 damage, because 1 is a pretty good amount. And then it has stealth, so it's kind of protected against most things. So an important thing to realize is that this is not a human. Most cards in this deck are human outside of your animals, which is squirrels and raccoon, and then these fairies. But they kind of look a little humanoid, so don't get confused. I have had some people think they were humans when I was playing it. Then we have Aesan Protector. This is kind of, there is no way that we have 3 in here. There's my 4th one. This is kind of honestly the MVP of the deck. All of us at True Champion Gaming are really big fans of this card in general. It just feels really, really strong. So if you are going first, you can play as squirrels. Your opponent has no cards yet to interact with you. You can't swing because they don't have a champion, but you just play squirrels for 0, put 4 other cards down from your hand, play Aesan Protector, and then bounce the squirrels. And now you have a 3/4 on body, and you even might have some defensive options in your hand to keep it alive. So that's kind of your ideal turn 1 play. And if you're going second, since you get the extra card draw, you'll be at 8 cards in hand. You can actually play a 2-drop because that will put 2 in memory and then 1 from your hand because you're playing the 2-drop. And then like something like Swift Recruit. And then you'll have 5 cards left over since you had 8, and you can put 4 down and play the Aesan Protector and then bounce that card. So you'll end with 1 card in your hand at the end of turn, but again, you played that 3/4 body right away. You won't have protection for it, which is unfortunate, but it's still a really strong turn, and because your opponent already has a champion, you can even like swing with your 2-drop as well as swinging with the Aesan Protector, or you can focus on clearing board if that's happening as well. Like in the Yeti Champion Your Champions tournament, and it's happened in many other games as well. My opponent tried to play like a really big ally at first, maybe a dungeon guy that they didn't use the effect for, or a Phalanx Captain or something, and I surprised them by playing a Swift Recruit, swinging for 1. Since it had 2 health, it wasn't enough for them to kill off, and then playing the Aesan Protector and finishing it off for 3. Be careful about swinging with squirrels into an ally if they're awake, because pretty much every ally can kill the squirrels back and you'll have lost your Aesan Protector target. But yeah, so this is really the bread and butter of the deck, as well as Gildas, because Gildas is also really important too, but this also has Intercept, so this is either your huge attacker or it is your really big defensive option. If you're playing against something like Fire Aggro Xander, a lot of their allies are really small and all have stealth, so they can't be attacked with. But if you just leave an Intercept up, especially one that's 3/4, they really can't attack into you, or you're going to be able to kill them back. And that's kind of how you like kill stealth units in this deck. So yeah, just really, really solid card. And then we have Phalanx Captain. So this is a card that you're generally going to bring out a little bit later in the game. It is okay to play it turn 1 and just drop all the cards in your hand in your memory pretty much. Because it is 4 health, not that many things in the game can deal with it that early on. And then you'll be getting its buff effect really early on in the game, which is good too. You know, I've played this game 1 and had opponents be like, oh, you must not have had a very good hand. And secretly to myself, I'm just like, this is actually a great hand, and the fact that this is on board, especially if you don't kill it, is just going to be fantastic, because if you play something like a Swift Recruit the next turn or something like that, you're swinging for 2, bouncing it with an Aesan Protector, swinging for 4 with the Aesan Protector, swinging for 1 with the Phalanx Captain. Like, you can really start to do some crazy damage. Gildas can swing for as much as 5 if you play Phalanx Captain on turn 1 and then play a Gildas afterwards. So you can really start to do some insane damage if you bring that out early, but it does have a class bonus where it costs 1 less to activate for each human ally you control, which is why I mentioned Dream Fairy not being human, because it's very important for this deck. And then other human allies you control get +1 as they're attacking. So you can basically have a little board of, like, you know, a Windrider Vanguard, a Aesan Protector, and a Swift Recruit or something. And then now, since you have these 3 out, as long as you're level 1 or level 2 and that class bonus is online, class bonus being the Warrior, you can play this for like 2 if you have these out. And then now that you have 4 humans out, because he himself is a human, you can play your next one for 1. If you had all these out, you can play the next one for 0. So you can see how very quickly you can really build up a board that's just going to do an insane amount of damage, because if you had all of these out, all of these effects will basically stack. So your other humans would be gaining 3 additional attack. They do not give themselves the attack buff, so this one would be swinging for 3, because he has 1 attack and then he's getting buffed from 2 other ones. But yeah, so it can get pretty insane. Let's go ahead and go to the next card though. Fairy Whispers. So that is all of our allies. We run 4 Fairy Whispers, and this is a really good card to pair along with Ventus. Sometimes I will go into Ventus on my turn 1 if I have like 1 or 2 of these in my starting hand, because every time that you activate this Wind Mage spell, you'll get a counter on Ventus, and these counters can be utilized for different things, whether it's slowly tapping it and removing 1 counter to put an enlightenment counter onto your champion to then remove 3 when you finally get to 3 to draw a card, or tapping this and removing 3 counters from here all at once to suppress an ally. And suppress means it'll remove it from the board right away, and then it'll come back at the next end phase. So you can use that to either stop your opponent from swinging with a big ally and killing one of your allies or killing you, or you can use this on your own stuff too. So if they try to kill a Phalanx Captain, you know, they swing 3 at it, it has 1 health left, and then they try to swing another damage at it, you can just suppress it and keep it alive. So Ventus is not always something that you'll bring out. It kind of sits in the deck depending on how many Wind Mage spells you want to play. And yeah, if you have a lot of Wind Mage spells right at the beginning of the game, Ventus might be worth going into. You do run quite a lot. It's 4, 8, 12, 16, 19 mage spells, Wind Mage spells. So you can theoretically get as many as 19 counters on Ventus. That won't happen. But I have had games where I brought this out early and I've used the suppress effect twice, which is really valuable to get 2 free suppressions for the cost of 1 materialization. So anyways, let's talk about what Fairy Whispers actually does though. You get to glimpse 3 and then after you glimpse, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's wind, you put it in your hand. Most cards in this deck are wind. You will get times when you reveal 3 normals. If that happens, I suggest putting all those on the bottom and just YOLOing the top card. Most of the time, it's pretty rare that you will get 4 normals in a row basically, and you won't be able to draw anything, but most of the time this is going to let you filter your deck and pick the card that you need at that moment. Like if you really need to see an Aesan Protector, start bouncing some squirrels or something, or just whatever you want. So Fairy Whisper is a very good card. We have 4 favorable wins. This is one of the ways that you're going to keep your allies alive. It's a fast, just like favorable is, so you can even do it on your opponent's turn. It's going to give you an additional health, all your allies for 1 turn, and it has floating memory. And it is one of those mage spells for a Ventus trigger if you have that out as well. So this will be usually how you get into your turn 1, is you play a card like this, put the floating memory in the drop, and then banish it to go into your level 1. And just keep some allies alive. don't be afraid to play this if you don't even need the health effect. If you just really need to get into your level 1, it's usually better to burn a card like this instead of choosing a random one from your memory, because you might lose a Phalanx Captain or something that you just really didn't want to banish. So you can always choose to basically sacrifice this as your memory by just playing it for no effect at the end of your opponent's turn, putting it in the graveyard, awakening all your stuff, and then burning it to go into your level 1. So little action there for you. And then we have 4 reclaims. This is a fantastic option to essentially keep your units alive. Your opponent might try to swing into them or do just whatever, and you can play reclaim as a fast speed on their turn and just add it back to your hand and keep your ally counts high. So yep, floating memory, again, a good way to play something, keep it alive, and just go into your level 1 or something. Then we have Displace. So you will not get the class bonus from this spell because you are not a cleric or a mage, we are a warrior. So it's a little less, it's not as good in this deck as something like a Rye Wind deck or something, but the effect is still really good. We're gonna basically flicker a ally, which can be either opponent's ally or your ally. And what you can do is at fast speed for 2, you can banish the ally and then return it onto the field rested. And that's an effect known as flicker. So if your opponent's trying to attack you with something, in response to the attack declaration, you can play this and you can remove it, bring it back rested, and that attack is no longer gonna happen. You're gonna basically fizzle that attack. So it can be used to prevent damage essentially. Or again, if you have something like a Aesan Protector and they've hit it for 2 already and they're about to hit it for like 3 more or something, you can displace it. Again, that attack's gonna get fizzled, so that 3 damage won't happen. And now since it left and came back, that 2 damage is also gone. So you can really cheat some high health allies basically using this effect. Something to know that if you do use Displace with Aesan, you are gonna re-trigger that on-enter effect, because like I said, it does leave and come back. Even though it happens like instantly, it is still gonna happen. So you will have to use the Aesan Protector's effect, but you can use that to your own advantage sometimes. Maybe they're trying to do a sweep. You can, before damage is done with that sweep or that cleave, displace an Aesan Protector. That's gonna remove it as a sweep target or cleave target, bring it back, and then you can use its effect to bounce another monster of yours, another ally of yours, and then that way you're basically keeping safe 2 allies of yours against 1 big cleave. So that's a really good interaction there to keep aware of. A little bit more complicated, and I probably didn't explain it as well as I should, but we do have a rules video up on the channel, quite a few rules videos up, and we do talk about one of those extensively we do talk about that extensively in one of those videos. So definitely go check that out. And then we're talking about some of the defensive options still. We have 4 Deflecting Edge. This is really good in a Lorraine deck, an aggro Lorraine deck, because like I said, you can bring out your Sword of Seeking with your level 1. Even if you attack with it that turn, you're still gonna have it on your board with 1 durability, and you can then play this card for free. So even with a 1 card hand, you can be doing stuff on your opponent's turn, which is very strong. This is really good if you're facing against fire and they're trying to push a lot of damage into your face. You can use this as a very cheap option to keep defenses up so that you don't lose the game. But because it's so cheap, you can be spending all your tempo on your turn to play stuff to be putting aggro onto them and trying to kind of race them. So most often you'll use this to keep your own allies alive when they're trying to clear them off, so that you keep, this is basically a tempo card, honestly. You're gonna just wanna keep tempo up and outrace them. Then we have 2 Veiling Breeze. So we have a pretty high norm count in here. So Veiling Breeze isn't as good as it is in some other wind decks, and again, you're kind of like aggro. Veiling Breeze is good in specific situations, but if you Veiling, then they're probably just gonna try to clear your board instead. And in this deck, if you lose your board, it's kind of like a Sylvie vibe. You're just kind of gonna lose the game anyways, because you're not gonna have enough tempo to outrace your opponent before they get into their level 3 and build in a lot of card advantage against you. Because you'll have a lot of card advantage early because you're spending so many materializations just drawing cards and all that kind of stuff. But in the long run, most decks will start to advantage you. So Veiling Breeze is kind of just a backup against the super heavy aggro decks. And then we have 3 Innervate Agility. So this is a new card from FTC. It's again another defensive option. It's a little similar to Veiling Breeze, but this will actually give your whole board Stealth or Spell Shroud. You get to pick which one. So the thought process is that this is really good against other ally decks because instead of Veiling Breeze, it'll give your entire units, or it'll give all units you control stealth, which does include your champion. So it'll protect you from losing the game, but it'll also protect your board so that you can hopefully then kill your opponent on your turn. So you do have to de-level your champion and recover 5. So you got to be careful with that. The reason that I like this card a lot in this deck is that because you sit on level 1 so much, you can just be at level 1, use this, go back to Spirit, heal 5, and then just use 1 floating memory to get back to where you were. And with Lorraine, you can actually cheat out another free sword. So that's a really good bonus effect as well. So this can be a little bit of a dead card sometimes. You just might not need to use any of the effects. Your opponent might be able to play around it by using Sword of Seeking and stuff to get through stealth units and stuff, but it definitely won me some games by having this card in the deck, so I don't think I'd really change it. Honestly, the only thing that I think I really would change throughout the entire deck was just adding in 1 more Raccoons, especially with how popular the Fire deck was, but I guess I didn't mention it either. I did play this exact list in the Yeti Champion of Champions event. It was only a 12-person event, but it was an invite-only event. You had to win one of the weekly events to be able to play in it, so there were some definite good players in that event. I had a lot of very intense matches throughout that, and I got 2nd place out of the whole thing, so the deck obviously does perform still pretty well, which is why we're doing a revised look at it in the FTC format, because it was kind of one of the titans in DOA format, even though it came at the end. It had such a strong showing that I do think it was one of the pillars of DOA, and I think that it's definitely going to have its place in FTC as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the side deck. We have a Water Bauble. Like I said, Ventus is kind of your main board Water Bauble, but if you are playing against a specific spirit, you have a really easy time sideboarding material deck cards, because if you're playing against fire, then you keep fire in and you side out Wind Bauble for one of these other 2 regalia. If you're playing against wind, vice versa, keep wind, sideboard out fire. If you're playing against water, then you sideboard both of these out because they're absolutely useless in that matchup. And then you bring in the Water Bauble and one of these. So it's a little easy to side in this deck, which is really nice. And again, another reason I think it's a little bit more of a new player-friendly deck. But yeah, so Water Bauble is just when you're playing against water. Smoke Bombs is if you're playing against something that runs a lot of taunt, or if you just want to use this to keep one of your own allies alive. You banish this, draw a card, and give something stealth. Actually, it's in the reverse order. Don't miss that. So you banish this, give something stealth ally, yours or your opponent's, and then draw a card. So the nice thing is that even though it costs 1, you use a floating memory, and this is basically another free draw in a way. And you can give something of yours stealth if you want to keep something alive, or if your opponent has a taunt or intercept up, even if it's active, if you give it stealth, they won't be able to use that anymore. So people will use that against you because you run so many taunt and stealth. It's good to use that against someone that is employing a similar style to you. So this can help basically banish an ally for 1 turn if you just need to do a finishing push to get the game in. Or again, it's a really good defensive option as well. Draws a card, keeps something of yours alive, hopefully. So pretty good there. And the other option, because like I said, you will side out 1 or 2 baubles. You'll be picking between Smoke Bombs and Tithe Proclamation. Smoke Bombs is what I usually brought in, but against a specific type of deck maybe that is drawing a lot, this is a really good option. So it's a 1-cost on-enter, draw a card. So similar to Smoke Bombs, you give up a floating memory, you draw a card, really good for this deck. And then players can't draw more than 3 cards each turn unless it's their first turn of the game. We don't run any crazy cards that are allowing us to draw 10 cards in 1 turn. Pretty much the most you would ever draw in 1 turn is 3. Maybe even 2, honestly. I can't even think of really a lot of ways that you would draw more than 3, because you get your turn draw, you get like a GCR or a Bauble draw, and I don't think we really run any draw cards in the main deck. So this doesn't really hurt us at all, but it can really slow down some specific strategies out there. So this is just good if you know what you're playing against. If you don't know what you're playing against and you can't decide between these 2, I would probably just recommend doing Smoke Bombs, because that's the more generic version out of these 2, and you'll get more utility for sure. Because if you bring out Tithe Proclamation against a deck that doesn't care about Tithe Proclamation, you're kind of not doing anything. We have 1 Raccoons in the sideboard. Again, like I said, I'd probably main this, maybe take out one of the Innervate Agilities to put this in here, and then just put the Innervate Agility in the sideboard. I just think the Raccoons are that good that they warrant being 4 of in the main. And then we have 4 Inspiring Calls. So this is a card that works really well in the deck, but it is another norm card, and because we run cards like Fairy Whispers and Valiant Breeze, we don't want to run too many norm cards in the main deck. So I have these in the side because this is really good for when you just really need to rush your opponent down fast, which isn't every matchup. So that's why they're in the side. It'll cost 2 less, normally cost 3, but you can play it for 1 if your champion has attacked this turn, which as Lorraine is pretty easy to do. If you level up, you'll get your free sword. You need a sword to attack, so you can just go right away. And then allies you control get +1 attack until the end of turn, and you draw a card in your memory. So the really nice thing about this is it forces more damage into your opponent, but you're not sacrificing resources. And since you can make it cost only 1, you're not really losing tempo either. It's kind of a no-loss card. So, you know, don't get baited into thinking that you have to have like 4 allies out to get advantage from this card. I've absolutely used it when I have 2 allies is like usually where you use it at. Sometimes even just 1 ally. And especially in like the board control matchups, it's really good because this is how you can kind of cheat extra damage out and really take control of the board fast without losing resources. So really good card there. Hopefully I explained more than necessary. I would rather over-explain this one. We won't go this much in depth on every single deck profile because I do want to keep them short sometimes as well. But hopefully if you're a new player, I explained everything. If not, if there's still something that's confusing you, definitely drop a comment in the section below. We try to stay up to date on comments, especially for the first like month that a video is posted. So ask your questions, we will try to answer. Thanks so much for checking out today's video. Definitely make sure to go check out our other videos. A lot of them are still very relevant. FTC just came out, so a lot of the deck lists are still extremely important to the meta. A lot of rulings. We made like 4 videos for rulings for FTCs, little interactions that you should know as a new or experienced player. And we try to do as much competitive and a little bit of casual content as well. So if you like GA, definitely make sure to check out all of our videos. We do also have our Patreon is finally up. We have some Patreon exclusive videos. If you are a member, we also put up our content early there for most of our YouTube videos so you can watch it before anyone else does. And you'll get your name in the end of videos like this one. So we do appreciate any support there as we try to get more and more content out for you guys. It is only possible through things like Patreon, so we really, really do appreciate the people supporting there. And we appreciate just our subscribers and our normal viewers as well, because it's very fun for us to make this type of content. And yeah, we're just all nerds about GA and can't get enough of this game. So hopefully that's you as well, and we will be putting out more content for you guys to enjoy in the future. Peace.